Hi, Chris Cantelmo here, out for my morning walk. It's a little later than usual. And I was just thinking about my love for the music of the Grateful Dead and the band The Grateful Dead. I saw the Grateful Dead when Jerry Garcia was alive. I don't know, around 150 times live. And had one of the biggest collections of digital Grateful Dead recordings probably on earth, and I had it all. Had a huge database and categorized and everything. I'm kind of OCD about stuff like that. And I started thinking about how I got into the Grateful Dead. Like I grew up on Long Island in the countryside, and there were a couple of radio stations around. You know, it was just like 3-minute pop tunes on the radio that you could listen to. And my parents had a stereo, but we had a few records. We had some Beatles records and stuff that we would listen to a lot. And what I came to understand about music from my experience of music this would be the late 60s and early 70s, was that songs were about 3 minutes long. They were usually about love. And, mainly made you feel good. A band would play, and they'd play a couple of verses, then there'd be a chorus, then play the same verses again, then there'd be the chorus again, then they'd play 3 verses. That was the end of a song. That was a song. So then, early teen years, we were friends with these guys I had met through my dad's work, and these guys had a Jeep and they could drive, and we wanted to go surfing. So one weekend, these guys, they were the Carreras, Jimmy and Mark Carrera, showed up to pick my brothers and I up to go surfing, and we're driving out to Southampton, Shinnecock, to go surfing. And the Carreras, they put on this music, and it was so weird, the music. I remember listening, the song was called Tennessee Jet. It's still one of my favorite songs. And it was like music that I had never heard before. They didn't repeat themselves, and they just kept, there was a chorus, but there was no like hook per se. And the music was so weird and strange, and yet it was somehow exactly what I wanted to hear. Like, I didn't know the names of notes or anything, or like the names of chords or chord progressions, but I knew, like, when they were playing, that there was a certain sound that I think would come next, and then it would come next, and yet it was just really weird. And back then, there was no internet or anything, and so I asked, like, what is this music? And they said, well, it's the Grateful Dead. And then I, would try to listen more closely on the radio, but they never played the Grateful Dead on the radio. So then I asked the Carreras, where can I, like, how do you get that music? So they said, just go to a stupid record store, you idiot. So you used to have to go to a record store and buy a record and then take it home and put it on the record player. So I'd go to the record stores, and there were 3 or 4, like, within about a 30-mile radius. But they had like one Grateful Dead album, Best of the Grateful Dead. And that had all songs that didn't sound like really the Grateful Dead. It was like, huh. So then I found a record store that had Best of the Grateful Dead, What a Long Strange Trip It's Been. And that had a bunch of live cuts and stuff, and that was great. And but I still couldn't find the songs that I had heard in the Carrera's Jeep as we were going out to go surfing. So then I found out that was a bootleg, a tape. And so they said, yeah, it's a type of a live concert. And I was like, what do you mean a concert? Like yeah, this band tours around all the time. They play live concerts. Which again, I guess like the Beatles and like these pop stars would do concerts, right? But not really. Very rarely. So then I heard about Grateful Dead concerts. And I finally had the wherewithal my junior year in high school. This girl, it was January 11th, 1979, I think the concert was at Nassau Coliseum. And this school had organized a bus trip into Nassau Coliseum. It was about an hour drive west. And I went to the concert, and I had read about the Grateful Dead at this point. There were some books about them and stuff, and I had heard they were really into LSD. LSD scared the hell out of me at that time, but I was very interested about it, and I ended up reading everything I could about LSD and all psychedelics many years before I tried mushrooms or LSD. And anyway, I went to this concert, and mind you, in '79, all drugs, quote unquote drugs, marijuana, etc., in New York were illegal. Like, you get caught like smoking a joint in public, you get a ticket, you go to jail. So I go to the concert, and everybody in the concert is high and smoking pot, walking around smoking these big joints, and clearly there's a lot of psychedelics having been consumed in the recent past. Everybody is just going bonkers, having a great time drinking. There's alcohol everywhere. Like, you could bring in bottles of alcohol. You weren't allowed, but people would sneak in ungodly amounts of alcohol. And it it really left an impression on me that, okay, what I learned from that was, if you're not bothering anyone, and you get a bunch of people who are like-minded, and they're not creating a public nuisance, they're like-minded, they're just having a good time, and what they're doing, they know that it's not hurting them, well, you just do it. You don't listen to naysayers. You don't listen to people who tell you, don't do that, it's bad for you, when you know it's not bad for you. And it gave me a healthy disrespect for people telling other people how to live their lives when the other people weren't bothering them. And what it made me realize also was that a lot of that sentiment, telling other people, hey, don't do that, you're having too much fun, comes from people who are really jealous. They're jealous that people are able to just let go and be ecstatic and really just live in the moment and appreciate God's beauty just laid out right before you without any filters. And God, I love the Grateful Dead. I miss Jerry Garcia so much. There's times when listening to a great Grateful Dead concert and song and rendition of a song where I'll just break down in tears. I remember in 1995 when Jerry Garcia died, Wall Street stopped trading when Jerry Garcia died. In fact, Jerry Garcia might be the last huge, iconic, sort of mass celebration of his death and life. Everything stopped. The mainstream media, they were shocked because the Grateful Dead were still sort of considered a cult outfit at that point in 1995. People were shocked that Wall Street traders just broke. They couldn't trade because they were just grief-stricken when they heard that Jerry Garcia had died. Just so amazing. And what an iconic figure. Jerry Garcia and the Grateful Dead, they were doing LSD. When LSD, you went to jail pronto if you got caught with LSD, and they would do LSD and play concerts. And God, I mean, I'm just so amazed at the strength of creative people to just do the right thing regardless of what other people tell you. Anyway, I love the Grateful Dead. I love you guys. Chris Cantelmo here with another vibration.